Welcome to Navigating Neurodiversity and the Workplace. My name is Ruth-Ellen. I'm CIO at Exceptional Individuals. If you haven't seen us before, we're Exceptional Individuals. We are a neurodivergent-led organization. We don't change people, we change environments. We're here to make the world much more neuro-inclusive. And this is one of the ways that we're doing it today. I'm being an ND coach for about 10 years. I'm a trainer, former business development manager. I have quite a few different credentials because I like different things. Very curious. Here's my lived experience. I'm disabled, dyslexic, dyspraxic, ADHD, and autistic. Plus I have OCD, which means I'm sharing with you how this shows up for me. You might see fast paced. I like to reframe it as passionate. You might see direct. I like to reframe it as clear, specific, not aggressive. I like to give you some challenging questions, but I also think it's much more about protocol thinking. It's not me to criticize you. You might see a lot of content today. And I have created a resource pack for those that have opted in for that. You might see me moving a lot. I just like to be engaged. It's not restlessness. That's what it looks like for me today. I'm here because I'm hearing a lot of wrongs, right? Constantly hearing it. We need to shift that. As an activist, there's so many things that we need to modify in the world. As a parent of neurodivergent individuals and as a person who's neurodivergent myself, as a coach, it's the same wrongs from way too many people in way too many different places. And it's not a coincidence. It's a system that needs changing. One of the ways we can change that to right those wrongs, you want to make those wrongs visible. This is an honest question that I want you to ask. In 1 or 2 words, what does not showing up at work authentically as yourself cost you? As you can see, I've got this showing up and authentically in comments because we know those words can be challenging for some. Okay, so it can cost you energy, it can cost you feeling misunderstood. What else? Everything, right? I'm asking you in 1 or 2 words, what does not showing up at work authentically as yourself cost you? My mental health, we've got mental well-being, draining, feel like an imposter, we've got masking, exhaustion, very common, right? All very common. I want to validate all of your experiences today because you can see that the recurring thread here, it costs us too much. So today's shift is about navigating neurodiversity in the workplace. We're going to begin or continue the conversation depending where you are in your journey. But that does mean at times you might not get everything you need. That's why I created some additional resources, and that's why Exceptional Individual is here anyway. You can go and get some additional things. We've got a great YouTube channel with fantastic resources that April has curated over the years. We have resources on our website as well. However, being present right now, looking back at these answers that you kindly given me, we've got stress, we've got draining and imposter, the cost of not showing up. Got isolation, dysregulation, anxiety, productivity, all of these things and more, which are in the comments as well, cost us too much. I want to validate this more of what other people have said as well. The invisibility cost, editing, having to filter through before I speak because I need to internally edit because there's a whole dialogue. Is it too much? Is it too direct? Will this sound wrong? All of those things is what we sometimes have to navigate to. Coach, he said, feeling smaller. Instead of expanding and taking up space, showing up at work as himself would cost him being bigger than people are comfortable with. Imagine we have to, or we've had to in the past, because we're shifting it today, just slightly. We've had to be smaller so that other people can feel more comfortable. Or at least that's the interpretation, right? What else? So we said ideas because it's just so many, and she's found that which ones are safe to say out loud and which ones will get her looked at sideways. So I said Sundays, the whole Sunday gone, dreaded Monday, possibly recovered on Saturday, and another person's at home. By the time she gets home, there's nothing left. There's nothing left for the people she actually loves. Yeah. Jessica can resonate with that. Was having to edit myself, ended up stuttering. We know there's a cost to this. Chronic exhaustion, depletion. It's just here. Rainmaker et al. In 2020 has to share this. If you're ever in doubt of thinking, is it just me? No, it's not. There's research. The community has to share it as well. That prolonged masking piece brings this up for all of us. I just want you to repeat out loud to yourself, the environment was never designed for my brain. That is not a reflection of my worth. I am not the problem to be solved. Just hold it for a moment. I am not the problem to be solved. It's the environment. While you're holding that, whether you're saying it out loud, whether you're just saying it to yourself, I'm going to go to the comments. Thank you for sharing that, Valentina. That really hits home because You are not the problem to be solved. This is the environmental challenge we are working with. So let's look at the environment. The acronym for shift. I do like an acronym because it helps me to almost put it all together. We're going to look at the social model, the environment. Again, not you. We're going to honor how your brain works. We're going to look at the information you need to disclose so that masking is not a thing, but you also don't have to disclose just to not mask. We're going to look at reframing adjustments as rights, not requests. I'm not asking. It's a right. Then we're going to take what works for you, stay away. Not everything's going to work. Not everything's going to resonate. Not everything's going to be like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. That's not the point of stay. The point is to be in community and to share this and where you're at to get support where you are at the moment. But you have something concrete as well to walk away with. I'm going to ask the question about what works right now, what feels more true. Before I ask you to self-reflect, I want you to understand what these words mean first. Adapting constantly in the workplace. So do you have to fit what others expect, not what you need? Do you often get ideas dismissed because of how you communicate and not because they are wrong? That's, again, the environment, right? You perform the collapse, so you're finding short bursts and then collapse at home. Are you often mislabeled? I've been called lazy, inconsistent, or difficult to work with. Some of the things that, again, is around the environment, because those are social norms that are constructed by others. Hiding what helps, taught myself to hide things that actually help me, or all of the above, and it's exhausting. At work right now, which feels most true? So far, we have all of the above. We're at work right now, which feels most true. At work right now, okay, so we've got all of the above so far, leading, and then we've got performing, then collapsing, mislabeled, adapting constantly, all of the above. Okay. Again, we are looking at the cost, but we're also recognizing where we are at with work. Forming and then collapsing, forming and burning out, adapting constantly, ideas being dismissed, forming and collapsing. I'm seeing across the board that so far, adapting constantly, right? We've got adapting and performing and then collapsing. And then we've got all of the above as well. Across the board, all of these are relevant to some people out there. Dismissed, collapsed, and mislabeled, not knowing what helps. I also just want you to look at these, right? How normal it is, what's happening in the workplace, as the environmental barriers that is causing this. It's across the board. It might not be all things, all of the above, but you can see a pattern here. Based on that, let's break that down a bit more. Not just to say, oh, it's an environment thing. We're going to use the acronym SMART, right? We've got sensory pieces that we need to think about. The mean design, accessibility, full stop, the routine, and the time. Does the environment work for your senses? The lighting, the noise, the temperature, the spatial layout? Can you actually participate in the meeting? Do they give you thinking time in between meetings? Not after the meeting, having time to decompress. I'm talking about in the meeting itself. You've got thinking time as part of the meeting agenda. They ask you a question, they give the whole team a minute or two before you have to respond. That is a thing. It works really well, really simple, costs nothing, but that's part of the meeting design. Are there alternatives to real-time verbal input as well? Are the structures written as well as spoken? Are there multiple formats available? Are changes communicated? One of the things I learned this past 6 months when I was doing the associate trainer piece was how well people need changes communicated. I created a comprehensive FAQ and that helped a lot. And it was really simple. Again, simple, not expensive, works really well. And flexibility, deadline, start time, processing time, all of those things. When you think of SMART, put it in the comments. Which one of these do you think could be smarter? Put the letter in, whether that's the S, the M, the A, the R, or the T. Which one in your current environment could be better? Or just think about it as a reflection piece if you're not fully comfortable. We've got S so far, we've got meeting design, we've got S again, which is sensory environment for your senses. We have R, we've got routine. Communicating changes can really reduce anxiety. We've got S again, which is sensory. T, which is time, flexibility, accessibility. Being able to access something, be taken for granted, right? Can I even access this meeting the way it is? Captions on, to be fair. With StreamYard, we don't have captions, but when it's uploaded, you will see captions. But again, accessibility. We've got time. We've got time again. Thank you, Gregory, August, Ruth, Tracy, Simon, James, Claudia, Alex, Jessica, Claire, Valentina, all contributing and sharing that. Off the cuff request. Again, the environment failed, not you. When a building doesn't have a ramp, we don't say the wheelchair user has a mobility problem. We say the building has an accessibility feature. We're trying to basically make it loud and clear the social model of disability is what we want everyone to be focusing on. It isn't about you changing. It's about identifying what the environment needs to change. Again, we're not changing people. We're changing the environment because the environment failed. You know that you don't owe anyone the effort of having to mask indefinitely. The fact that you're very aware that you are masking shows an extraordinary effort that you've been putting in, extraordinary energy, and it's cost you a lot. But we are looking at ways to break that cycle. Part of number 2, or chapter 2, is the double empathy problem. When it comes to communication, historically, when we feel like we've communicated something and another person hasn't understood, we've said, oh, it must be a me thing. I must be not articulating it well. Actually, with the double empathy piece, it's supposed to be both of us. But honestly, when I ask you now, how have you seen communication difficulty historically? 1, 2, 3, or 4? Please put it in the chat. Got lots of ones. 1, always me. I must have not articulated it very well for you to misunderstand me. Sometimes 3, both of us. Okay, fantastic. We got a couple of 3s, both of us. Unit that was mutual, fantastic. We've got many 1s, we've got a couple of 3s, and we have 2. When I've communicated with people and they've just looked at me like blank faces, I've always, historically, not now, assumed it was both of us. But then at times, I've said, okay, it must be me, honestly. Then I never considered it just being them. But the fact that it's mutual, it's not just on me and it isn't just on them, it's both of us to resolve this. I think that's being the challenge, right? The fact is, when it comes to communication difficulties, the job is for everybody, both of you, to work together to resolve it. Not just the person that might be neurotypical, or even neurodivergent that's not understanding. It's not just on you, it's on both of you. It's mutual. I always believe that it's mutual, but the evidence is there that when 2 neurodivergent people communicate, the difficulty largely disappears. However, we're not here to be like, this is a neurotypical problem. This is a neurodivergent problem. We're saying it's mutual. It's never one-sided. And that's where we're at. Okay. Glad to hear it was a 1 for a long time. It became a 3 eventually. Thank you so much for sharing that. Thank you all for sharing where you're at, or where you was historically, the gap that your workplace doesn't see. Before I ask you to tell me where your gap is, I just want to expand on each term, because sometimes when we have words, they can mean different things to different people. When I talk about invisible energy, the energy it might take you to get through a standard meeting. When I talk about off-peak brilliance, when you do your best thinking outside of your 9 to 5. When I talk about the gap, too much to say, I'm talking about when you're struggling to communicate because you have so many things. When I even talk about multi-channel processing, things in writing, because multiple channels processing is challenging. Or is it also like I leave work and have nothing left? What's the gap your workplace doesn't see? Do they not see the invisible energy? Do they not see the off-peak brilliance? Do they not see the too much to say? They already do not see it already solved it. Do they not see multiple channel processing? Do they see nothing left? It might be all of them. Who knows? This point of time, what's the gap your workplace doesn't see? I want to get to the meat and potatoes of some of the solutions, and we are doing some of that. But it's always good to take a beat and figure out where you're at as well. So far, we have invisible energy it takes, right? They don't see that. We've got nothing left coming up in second, off-peak brilliance and multi-channel processing as well. Enjoying third, and then too much to say and already solved it. You know, to chat and see where you're at. Yeah, so reiterating that, Gregory as well, people, thanks for your work. Performance in off-peak time, I see in the comments. Yeah, sometimes there are times when like, okay, I've got this great idea, but it didn't necessarily fit into that 9 to 5 piece. So I don't necessarily just sit and wait to start the 9 to 5 again. I need to get it out because it's part of the way that my brain works. So the invisible energy or off-peak brilliance, definitely I've experienced well. Thank you all for sharing that, which kind of speaks to your Spiky profile. It's a Spiky profile tool on our website. You can go and check it out after this. But I just want to give you a breakdown of the spike, right? You have the Spiky profiles and things that you just excel in, you're exceptional in. The environment sometimes means that the spikes also are hindered. I want to ask a couple of questions, focusing on E, that helps to recognize this spike, right? What drains you completely that seems to cost other people almost nothing? What energizes you that other people find exhausting? Let's just demonstrate how the energy piece shows up for you. While you do that, I am going to go into the chat and see where you are at. We've got in the chat around having the brain kicking in around 5 to always being home alone. Gregory's saying yes, me as well. April has tried the Spiky profile, very good on the whole. Rachel said yes, profile. Fantastic. I'm just going to go back, keep using the chat, keep being in community, allowing the conversation in the chat. What drains you completely, it seems to cost other people almost nothing. What energizes you that other people find exhausting? Association drained, hiking helps. Getting ready for a meeting. Noisy environments drain. Unstructured social interaction drain. Energized complex problem solving. I'm with you on that one. If there's social interaction and it's not structured, my brain's thinking, how do I navigate this? What do I do? I'm having to use a lot of energy just figuring that out. If it's structured, it's much more helpful. Not stimming, right? Drains, changing your emails, new environments, energized hyper-focused deep dives. Staying focused when I have no interest. Yeah, it can be draining. Back-to-back or lunchtime meetings drain me. Gym classes energize me. Fantastic. You know what I found drains me recently? It's not an actual work thing, typically. It's coffee. Coffee actually makes me go to sleep. This is how my ADHD shows up. Okay, dull, repetitive tasks that don't find any interests for my brain. I literally have to have noise in the background to stimulate me. That can be draining as well. Networking, social interactions, focusing on small talk rather than specific topics. Absolutely. If you haven't got a specific topic, or if you're an event organizer, you say to somebody, go to the person and start having a conversation. That's quite draining. You say, talk to the person and tell them the last thing that you did that you was inspired by. It's a bit more structured. Very helpful. What else? We've got being invited to have lunch with colleagues. Yeah, for me, in my dyslexia, I'm always conscious about motor coordination. I avoid that as much as I can because that can be draining. Working on webinars about taking a break can drain you and others. I can't think of anything that energizes me that others find exhausting. Conversations at certain times of the day, drains early mornings, long meetings without breaks. We see the recurring theme here. Actually, let me group the responses because that's going to be really helpful for you to all see. Social interaction, meetings, noise, technical language, having to decode, routine tasks, staying focused when I have no interest, all of those things. You are in good company here. These are the drainers and the energizers. Just going to go back to this. Thank you all for sharing so far. I'm going to go to the chat while you do this. Small talk drains me. Yes, I'm going to go back to the acronym. We've got spike, stress, exceed expectations, specific details, patterns, interests, knowledge, and energy. We're just focusing on the E. We've got all of these in part of the spike, but E is what we're focusing on here. Hope that helped, Linda. Anything else? I'm going to go back down a little bit, go back to the groups piece. Social interactions and meetings are neck and neck in terms of the drains. I'm just going to go to the energizers. I'm seeing a lot of exercise to re-energize people, or even human connection in emergencies as an energizer. Doing tasks others may find repetitive as well as an energizer. Again, we've got a mixed lot of people here. When you know your drainers and energizers, it's much easier to work with your spike than trying against it. Hopefully that's helped. Thank you so much for sharing this. The challenge isn't in profile. It's the measurement system that was designed for different shape of mind entirely, right? So you're all excellent at what you do. The environment, again, isn't supporting you in some spaces. Hopefully that's part of the shift that we've looked at. I want to get to the disclosure dilemma. Pin where you are right now. Okay, so far we have people that haven't disclosed and not planning to. Again, there's no right answer. We're told one person informally. A couple of people have done, a few people. Disclose It didn't go as hoped is one that's coming up as well. Having disclosed, thinking about it, okay, great. Curiosity is its own kind of readiness, and that's completely fine. Disclose formally, it went well. Fantastic to hear. Pre-diagnosis, curious. This is where you can still get support, don't necessarily need to disclose. And this is where I'm sharing those next. And you can see that everyone's disclosure journey is different. We need to honor that as well, because some workplaces, it's probably easier to disclose, for example, with exceptional individuals, right? As opposed to maybe an organization that still thinks neurodiversity is defined by one individual person and doesn't know the difference between neurodiversity and neurodivergence. There's that challenge. We want to honor everyone where they are at based on what can help them. I actually created an acronym, which is part of the shift piece, which helps you almost build in that internal safety before you disclose. Because disclosure is not a tool. It's not something you need to disclose and be like, okay, I've confessed, I feel better now. 4 things. Do I trust? I said, do I trust this person or organization this information? Am I disclosing because I need specific adjustments or for another reason? What's the realistic risk? And what do I do if it doesn't go the way I hoped? Again, I've adapted this from Waltz in 2016 and Woods in Hart. And this is the question that you could ask yourself before. So the question is, which part of DARE is missing for you right now? Is it D, A, R, or E? Faced largely with ignorance when disclosed. Sorry to hear that, Simon. Pre-diagnosis, Rona, we're here for you. Come with me and say that they are pro it all, but the practice doesn't know how to deal with the realities. So common. Valentina, we are here to support you, and we hope that changes as soon as possible. Okay, so far, what part is missing right now in terms of DARE? We've got, I'm not sure I trust them with this information. Don't feel like you're wrong. There's no right answer. A, I know something needs to change, but I can't name what it is. I can't see the risk clearly. And we've got E, I wouldn't know what to do if it went wrong. Which part is missing? So far, we've got E, I wouldn't know what to do if it went wrong. It's the exit piece, right? If I share something so vulnerable, what happens if it doesn't go as planned? We've also got, I don't trust all involved. We've also got, can't even name it. We've got a mixed pot here. We're going to disclose strategically, but I just want you to know disclosure is not required when you feel pressured by others. I think, it's really helpful if we disclose if you're neurodivergent. Helpful for whom? It's a question. You don't want to feel pressured by others. If the culture feels unsafe or punitive, as in you're going to get punished, somebody's going to say, is that because they've got dyslexia? Then again, disclosure is not required. You're not disclosing to explain past failure. If you've had a performance review come up or somebody flagged something big, and then you're disclosing because you're like, it's because of this, it's because of my neurodivergence. Again, it's not a reason to explain past failures. The environment wasn't set up for you. The environment still needs to change, regardless if you disclose or not. If the environment's not changing, then it's an appropriate way. We need specific adjustments to your best work, and it falls outside of this environment piece. You have a trusted manager or HR contact. That's a clear process. If the organization hasn't got a clear process, it's almost like asking you to follow a map that has no direction. You're ready and it serves your interest. Just consider some of these strategic disclosures in practice. Again, rights, not request. Not a favor. You don't have to be grateful for it. You don't have to earn it. You don't have to justify it beyond what the law requires. It's a legal right. It's not a favor. Just going to go into the chat. We're seeing people saying we learned about the different types of exclusion, explicit exclusion, discrimination, bullying, simulation, and tolerance. Uniqueness is tolerated if you constantly prove your value. Interesting, isn't it? Thank you for sharing it, Harriet. My disclosure explain why my priorities have changed since receiving my diagnosis. Thank you, Simon. Thank you all. But just wanted to refer to this. It's a right, not a favor. Under the Equality Act, we're going to have to get legal. We're identifying what isn't necessarily working for us. We're requesting so that they are aware of the barrier. Again, you're not naming your neurotype, just the impact. When I say neurotype, doesn't mean it excludes other conditions. We're talking about you having mental wellness that needs to be supported as well, because we know it's co-occurring. There's an agreement there, and then there's a review. Sometimes people have an agreement, no review. I just want you to recognize your legal protections. You don't need a diagnosis to ask. You don't need to wait. Don't need to name it. Just describe what isn't working and what would help. We're going to reframe their language. Instead of saying sorry, but could I possibly, or I know it's a lot to ask, but I'm not very good at meetings. No, I work most effectively when the barrier I need to remove is I contribute best. I need a low stimulation workplace to maintain focus. Written instructions are an access need for me. Can you see that? You've probably framed it this way before, but I just want to reiterate. We're not apologizing. We're reframing. Which one of these can we start doing more of in terms of instructions, workspace, low stimulation, we're removing barriers, we're reframing. We're not saying, sorry, but could I possibly? No, we're saying I work most effectively when, because we're strategically getting what we need to work at our best rate. Thank you to Mary, Tracy, Claudia, Valentina, August, Alex, Mitchell, Jessica, and Heather. You could have noticed if it's not put in because my reject sensitivity won't allow me to ask you that. Okay, so what would generally change at work? We've got some things here that could change. Sensory, obviously, environment, the communication, time, support. But these, again, common transformations. I've shared with you shift. The T is take what works for you today, because you don't have to use everything. I want to make sure that you're very clear on what that looks like. We've looked at the SMART environments, the double empathy problem, the Spike profile, the DARE framework, a bit about the Equality Act. They all connect and they all support you navigating neurodiversity in the workplace. We've looked at the social model, the environment, not you, needs to change. We've looked at honoring your brain, and the Spiky profile is a different kind of excellence. How to have conversations, if you want to, around disclosure. Also not necessarily seeing it as a quest, but more of a right, and taking what works. And each step is built on the last one. From the shift framework, not necessarily double down on, but maybe look into a bit more, because again, you're just taking what you need. From shift, write in the comments the letter SHIFT, possibly that's going to help you navigate neurodiversity in your workplace today. Put in the letter. So far we have honoring your brain. Amazing. We have framing it as rights. Absolutely. Honoring your brain again. We have the social model. Again, we're looking at the environment, right? We have framing it as rights. We have honoring your brain. Taking what works, experiment and be curious. Don't think that, okay, I'm going to do all of this. Nothing's working. Be curious. H, honoring your brain. Okay, fantastic. I'm going to break down the models in a second. We got H, honoring your brain. H and I, and honoring your brain and informing disclosure, strategic decisions made on your terms. T, take what works. Choose what serves you today. Again, shift, social model, honor, informed, brain, and take. The whole piece of today has been around that. And these other acronyms feed into it. So we've got the SMART, we've got the sensory, meeting design, accessibility, routine, and time. We've got the double empathy problem and communication and framing it both mutually responsible. We have the Spike. We've got the strengths, patterns, the interest, the knowledge, the energy. And again, go to exceptional individuals, the Spiky profile, or we can decompress and take that because it will give you your Spiky profile. Then DARE, do I trust? Just what's the risk and what's the exit? So you can make that disclosure decision. Thank you, Valentina. I appreciate you. With that in mind, which acronym, apart from shift, because you've already told me which part of shift you're going to be doing, are you going to look into a bit more? For those who have got in their resource pack and for trusting me with not even knowing what the resource pack is, this is what it looks like. It's got the shift framework, Spike profile. It's got different tools, basically. I've also created a tool. I am a coder. So this basically is the workplace navigator. And when you put in some of the environmental barriers that are happening, this workplace navigator will give you some scripts and some support. I'm going to be showing that as well as part of the resource pack. So stay tuned for that. This is the key research and evidence. If you want to do some further reading, if you are like me and you're like, oh, that sounds so interesting. I'm looking back at your comments. We've got DP, Spike, DP and SMART. All of those are things that you're going to be looking at a bit farther. We've got SMART and DP, there's double empathy, recognizing, actually, I don't need to say sorry for this. This is a mutual conversation. we're mutually going to navigate. And if you haven't had a work with me document, one of the things that we do in code coaching at AI is we have a work with me document that not only the individual who is neurodivergent fills out, but the manager does it as well. And we have an alignment document so both parties agree what collaboration really looks like. We've also got DARE, it's going to be looked at. Fantastic. What do you want to remember about yourself after this? Not about neurodiversity, about you. We know that the environmental barriers can be trying, but what do you want to remember about yourself so that you never feel like you're the problem, because you never were? This is all about navigating neurodiversity in the workplace. I am enough. Love that. Thank you, Jessica. I'm reliable and resilient. Thank you, Justin. You are. Don't work with my line manager, so career coaching doesn't work beyond line manager relationship. Sometimes training and development for the team can help shift the culture really easily, depending if you're getting the right training. But totally hear you on that one. Justin and Jessica, thank you so much for sharing and affirming what you're going to remember about yourself. And for everyone else that's done it as well, you're great. Something they've remembered about themselves. Taking the courage to believe in myself that I'm able, I'm not the problem. Absolutely. You never were. I'm not dramatic, demanding, or bratty. Under certain circumstances, that can be quite brilliant. Absolutely. You can be brilliant. See the environment to support you on that. I perform better when I respect my needs. I love this one because sometimes we abandon ourselves because we feel like that's what we need to do in that moment. But when we have boundaries and we really remember who we are, it's a game changer. I'm getting my ups and downs in my work life as a neurodivergent person. Absolutely. And you're allowed to peaks and troughs. I'm capable. I work better without interruptions. Making my world more me-shaped helps me be more world-shaped. Fantastic. So, okay, that what I find difficult is different from what other people think is difficult. I have the way I work best, which needs suitable support. I believe in my abilities. Yes. My viewpoint is important that I'm reliable and resilient. I contribute to neurodivergent awareness. I have great pattern recognition. It's good for you neurodivergent. Thoughts for that. I'm allowed to be myself without apologizing. I need to stick up for myself. That self-advocacy piece is huge. And sticking up for yourself, sometimes you're like, just having a good day. There's some moment in that day, you're sticking up for yourself. And then maybe an hour later, you decide you do something and you're like, you didn't do it. But the times when you do, and the times when you remember when you maybe didn't, be able to reflect on that, recognize and not punish yourself for it, because we can only do as much as we can. And when you're tired and other things, that can really impact it. I make good choices for myself. I just think different, but if we all thought the same, life would be boring. Yes, you are allowed to take up space. Open plan office still work for me. Just want to reiterate, the gap is theirs to close. These are just some tools to help with that. Again, the environment was not designed for my brain. It's not a reflection of my worth. I am not the problem to be solved. Take the shift, take the frameworks, take the words you wrote about yourself today, carry them into the workplace. I haven't quite caught up with you yet. Knowing the gap is theirs to close, not yours to apologize for. Thank you all so much. Appreciate you all for being here today, not just for yourself, but also for everyone in the community as well. Thanks, Justin. Thanks, Claire, Valentina. Harriet, Workplace Navigator is something I experimented with and done. It's part of the add-on you get when you pay for it. But we'll see how the feedback comes, and then we might look at doing a discounted one. Thank you, Leslie. Thank you, Jessica. Thank you, Claudia. Thank you, Catherine, for being here for your friend as well. Thank you, Tracy. Thank you, Gregory. I appreciate you all. Have an amazing day. Many thanks. Thanks, Simon. Take care all.